Welcome back to Nation of Glory, the home of stories that inspire, amaze, and bring you closer to the legends who shaped entertainment and sports history. Tonight, we take you into the journey of a man who rose from the rugged coasts of Scotland to the grand stages of WWE, a man who proved that no matter how many times life knocks you down, the spirit of a true warrior always rises again. This is the story of Andrew McLean Galloway, known to the world as Drew McIntyre, the Scottish warrior. His journey isn't just about wrestling, it's about perseverance, heartbreak, redemption, and glory. So stay with us, because this story is going to take you through every twist and turn of an incredible life. Drew McIntyre was born on June 6, 1985, in Ayr, Scotland. From a young age, he stood out not just because of his size, but because of his dreams. While most kids around him dreamed of becoming footballers or following regular paths, young Andrew had his eyes set on something far less common in Scotland. He wanted to become a professional wrestler. That dream, in those days, seemed almost impossible. Wrestling was an American spectacle, dominated by names like Hulk Hogan, Bret Hart, The Undertaker, and later The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. For a Scottish boy to dream of standing in that same spotlight, it seemed unrealistic. But for Drew, it was the only dream worth chasing. In his teenage years, he didn't just dream, he acted. Drew began training as a wrestler at a young age. By the time he was 15, he was already stepping into the ring with independent wrestling promotions across the UK. The Scottish independent scene was small, but Drew's towering presence, natural athleticism, and relentless drive set him apart. He was hungry, determined, and willing to do whatever it took. Wrestling wasn't just a sport for him, it was a calling. By the time Drew reached his late teens, he had begun to make waves across the British wrestling circuit. He traveled, he trained, and he sacrificed. It was during this time that WWE started to take notice. And in 2007, the dream came true. Drew McIntyre signed with World Wrestling Entertainment. For a young man from Ayr, Scotland, this was the moment of destiny. When Drew first appeared on WWE television, fans saw something different. Tall, charismatic, with long blonde hair and a presence that demanded attention, he didn't just walk into the ring, he commanded it. Vince McMahon himself, the chairman of WWE, once called Drew McIntyre the chosen one, publicly declaring that Drew was destined for greatness. Imagine that for a moment. You're in your early 20s, barely starting your career, and the most powerful man in wrestling announces to the world that you are the future. The weight of those expectations was enormous. But life doesn't always follow the script we expect. In the early 2010s, Drew's career in WWE began to stumble. Despite his undeniable talent, he was often placed in storylines that didn't showcase his potential. He was made part of the comedy group 3 Megabytes, alongside Jinder Mahal and Heath Slater. While fans enjoyed the humor, Drew's reputation as the chosen one faded. He became the guy people laughed at, not the guy people feared in the ring. For many wrestlers, this would have been the beginning of the end. And in 2014, that end came. Drew McIntyre was released from WWE. For most, that would have been the closing chapter. The dream was over. From being labeled the future of the company to being let go, it was a crushing blow. But this is where Drew's story transforms from ordinary to extraordinary. Because instead of quitting, Drew went back to his roots. He went back to the independent scene, hungry, determined, and with something to prove. He wrestled across Europe, in the United States, and even in Japan. He reinvented himself, grew into his body, grew into his presence, and showed the world what WWE had missed out on. Under his real name, Drew Galloway, he became a star. He captured championships across the globe, becoming a cornerstone of Impact Wrestling and dominating independent promotions. Fans began to see him not as a failed WWE project, but as a warrior, a leader, a man who carried himself with pride and intensity. Every match, every promo, every appearance was filled with passion. Drew wasn't just wrestling to entertain, he was wrestling to survive, to redeem himself, to climb back to the mountain he once stood upon. He once said in an interview, "Sometimes you need to be broken down to be built back up stronger." And that's exactly what happened. By 2017, WWE came calling again. This time, Drew was not the same man they had released. He was stronger, smarter, more experienced, and most importantly, more determined. When he returned to WWE through NXT, he dominated. He won the NXT Championship and proved that he was not just back, he was better than ever. His matches were intense, his promos passionate, and his presence undeniable. Fans believed in him again, because they could see the journey, the scars, and the heart behind the man. Soon, Drew returned to the main roster, and once again, he climbed the ranks. But nothing could prepare him or the fans for the moment that would change everything. It was 2020, the year of the global pandemic. The world was shutting down, arenas were empty, but WWE pressed on, performing without live audiences. In January 2020, Drew McIntyre entered the Royal Rumble match. With the world watching, he did the unthinkable. He eliminated Brock Lesnar, the Beast, the seemingly unbeatable monster. The crowd erupted, and in that moment, Drew McIntyre became a hero. He went on to win the Royal Rumble, cementing his place as the man heading to WrestleMania. And at WrestleMania 36, in front of no live audience, due to COVID-19 restrictions, Drew McIntyre defeated Brock Lesnar to become the WWE Champion. The boy from Ayr, Scotland, who once lost everything, who once was laughed at in 3 megabytes, who once was released, and told he wasn't good enough, he stood tall as the champion of the world. It was a bittersweet moment, as he had dreamed of hearing tens of thousands of fans cheering for him, but even in an empty arena, the world knew the truth: Drew McIntyre had fulfilled his destiny. What makes Drew's story so powerful isn't just that he won a championship. It's that he showed resilience, the heart to come back from failure, the courage to face rejection, and the belief that no dream is too far out of reach. He carried WWE through one of its hardest times, becoming the face of the company during the pandemic. Fans connected to him, because they knew he wasn't just a character, he was real, his story was real, his struggles were real. Since then, Drew McIntyre has continued to be a force in WWE. Whether holding championships, competing in main events, or delivering passionate promos, he has solidified himself as one of the most respected and admired superstars of his generation. He is proud of his Scottish roots, often carrying the flag of Scotland with him, and he inspires not just wrestling fans but anyone chasing a dream that feels impossible. Because Drew McIntyre's story teaches us something important: failure is not the end. Rejection is not defeat. Sometimes, the path to glory isn't straight, it's filled with setbacks, heartbreaks, and obstacles. But if you have the courage to keep going, to rise every time you fall, you can achieve greatness. And that's why Drew McIntyre isn't just a wrestler, he's a symbol. A symbol of determination, resilience, and the warrior spirit. So when you hear his name, when you see him raise that sword in the air and hear the roar of the crowd, remember this isn't just about a match, a belt, or a moment. This is about a man who proved that with heart, passion, and perseverance, you can turn every setback into a comeback. That is the glory of Drew McIntyre. Thank you for staying with us on this journey through the life of Drew McIntyre here on Nation of Glory. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and of course, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more incredible Hollywood and wrestling stories. Until next time, keep believing, keep dreaming, and keep chasing your own glory.